Bartz and Boko are camping in a small forest when a large meteor crashes nearby. Upon investigating, they encounter Lena being assaulted by goblins. Once she's safe, they hear an injured Galuf, who has amnesia and can only remember his name, and that he was headed to the Wind Shrine, where Lena herself was headed. Bartz declines their offers to travel together, and Lena and Galuf set off. Bartz and Boko continued their unspecified travels, but Boko is concerned over a young woman and old injured man traveling alone and convinces Bartz to follow them. An earthquake, presumably caused by the events at the Wind Shrine, or possibly the meteorite, incapacitates Lena and Galuf, and they are once more rescued by Bartz and Boko, who now agree to join them in their quest. They encounter a cave opened by the earthquake and tell Boko to stay at the entrance. Through an opening, the three witness a ship sailing nearby, despite the fact that the Wind Shrine crisis has stopped the trade winds from blowing. Further in the cave, they encounter a pirate's den. Catching the pirates asleep, they try to steal the ship but fail and are cornered by the pirates. Lena reveals that she is the Princess of Tycoon, and the pirate captain Ferris recognizes Lena's pendant. After a night in the ship's brig, Ferris agrees to ferry them to the Wind Shrine, and explains that the ship is powered by an awesome dragon named Seldra. They stop to pick up Boko, but discover that he has been injured and must stay in the pirate's den while he recovers. After sailing to the shrine, they climb to the top where the wind crystal rests. The crystal shatters, and King Alexander Tycoon informs them that the other three crystals are in danger, and the wind crystal blesses the four as warriors of light, granting them crystal shards that allow them to draw on the powers of ancient warriors. Needing access to the Torna Canal, the Light Warriors go to Tool to visit a family friend of Lena's, who holds the key. Though showing concern for Lena's safety, he relinquishes the key and the party sets off for the canal. In the canal, they encounter a sea beast, whose death throes create a large whirlpool. The sea dragon Sildra sacrifices himself to push the ship out of harm's way, leaving the ship to float on the currents to the ship's graveyard. While escaping the graveyard, the party is forced to swim a ways, and when they take refuge inside an old boat's hull to dry their clothes, they make the shocking discovery that the pirate captain Ferris is actually a woman who has disguised herself. The other three come to terms with this rather quickly and continue their escape after some rest. Reaching shore, they encounter a siren who traps Bartz, Lena, and Ferris with soul-sucking images of their loved ones. The siren attempts to use a vision of Galuf's granddaughter to ensnare him as well, but his amnesia prevents him from recognizing her, and he's able to return the other senses, and they defeat the siren in combat. Making their way to the nearest town, they learn that the Tycoon Winddrake Hiryu has been spotted near North Mountain, where dragon grass, a healing herb, is said to grow. The party, now without a means of transportation, decide to investigate. Reaching the top of North Mountain, the party encounters the hunter Magissa, who poisons Lena with an arrow. Ferris selflessly comes to her aid, and the party manages to defeat Magissa and her husband. When they find Hiryu, he has landed in a precarious spot surrounded by poisonous thorns, and his injury prevents him from moving. Lena braves the thorns and obtains enough dragon grass to heal Hiryu, who uses his restored power to do the same for her. With Hiryu's help, the four make it to Waltz, holders of the water crystal. They meet with King Waltz, and all seems fine until another meteor falls nearby, and a messenger declares that a gorilla has attacked the tower that holds the crystal. King Waltz and his men head to the tower ahead of the Light Warriors. When the party arrives, they find Waltz's soldiers injured and dying, and further up the tower discover the king wounded on the floor. He begs them to stop Gorilla, and the party complies, defeating the beast. In the crystal chamber, they encounter a soldier in an odd uniform who refers to Galuf as nobility before dying. Galuf has little time to ponder this, though, as the tower begins sinking into the sea. The Light Warriors fail to escape in time and are dumped into the ocean. A familiar voice rings out as Sildra arrives to rescue them. Once safe on the beach, they realize that Sildra was already gravely wounded from the previous encounter, and the exertion of the rescue was too much for him. Sildra lets out a mournful wail and swims off to die, despite Ferris's protests that he stay. Now blessed with most of the warrior souls of the water crystal, the party heads for the Karnak in order to protect the fire crystal. Investigating the Waltz meteorite, they discover it holds a teleportation field that sends them to a meteor that had fallen near Karnak. In Karnak, the party stops at a local shop for supplies, and soon find themselves under arrest for suspicion of aiding a werewolf also seen coming from the meteor. While in prison, they meet Sid Previa, inventor of the crystal amplifiers, whose current project is a ship powered by the fire crystal. Sid was imprisoned for forcefully attempting to turn off the amplifier. A guard arrives with news that the fireship is acting unusually, and Sid negotiates the release of the Light Warriors to aid him. On exiting the castle, they witness Karnak's soldiers chasing off the werewolf. In the engine room of the fireship, the party encounters a fire elemental. Defeating it, they run into the werewolf, who reveals that he knows Galuf, but winds up sacrificing himself to try and stop the energy overflow going into the crystal. Bartz and company escape through the ship's docking station into the castle basement, and exit the castle just before the fire crystal explodes, conveniently destroying the wall blocking the path to the Library of the Ancients. The fire crystal's shards grant them more warrior souls, but 2 of the shards go flying off in the explosion. At the Library of the Ancients, they encounter and defeat the sealed demon Byblos, and meet Mid Previa, Sid's grandson, who has been researching ancient power sources. Together, Sid and Mid are able to repair the fireship, and Bartz's party is able to begin their search for the Earth Crystal. Galuf reveals that much of his memory has returned, and that he rode on the Tycoon meteor from another world to save the crystals, which seal a powerful criminal from his world that Galuf and the Dawn Warriors had fought 30 years ago. The party makes a stop on Crescent Island to gather information when an earthquake starts up. The earthquake creates a whirlpool that sucks in and sinks the fireship, leaving the Light Warriors stranded. Encountering a black chocobo in the Crescent Forest, the party captures it and discover the remaining 2 fire shards. The black chocobo allows them to fly back to see Sid and Mid, who have discovered a lead on King Tycoon's location. Following the king's trail through a shifting desert, Bartz and company wind up in an ancient city. Falling into the bowels of the city, they learn that Ferris is actually Lena's sister, Sarisa. They encounter a teleport pad that takes them to an airship dock under Crescent Island, containing both the sunken fireship and an airship. Sid and Mid, who are taking the Black Chocobo home, are caught in an earthquake caused by the teleport device and fall into the dock as well. Sid and Mid repair the airship, and the party uses it to return to the Ronka ruins to save the Earth Crystal, but as they approach, the entire ruins rises into the sky, above the airship's maximum altitude. Retrieving a piece of adamantite from the Tycoon meteor, they enlist Sid's aid once again to modify the airship, lightening its weight. With the airship improved, the group gains access to the Ronka ruins. Reaching the Earth Crystal's chamber, they are interrupted by a mind-controlled King Tycoon. Lena prevents the party from harming the king as a 4th meteor trails through the sky and crashes into the ruin. Galuf's granddaughter, Krila, bursts into the room and blasts the king with a thunder spell, knocking him to his senses. The last of Galuf's amnesia is lifted, and he greets her warmly. The distractions of the king's affliction and Krila's arrival slow the party enough to prevent the crystal from shattering, instantly freeing the warlock Exdeath from his prison. He teleports to the crystal chamber, turning the crystal shards against the party before teleporting to Galuf's world to end a 30-year pause in his conquest. King Tycoon purifies the earth shards at the cost of his life, granting Bartz's party more warrior souls to draw upon. They escape the ruins with Krila in tow as Ronka falls from the sky. Galuf and Krila use the gone meteor to return to their world, insisting that Bartz, Lena, and Ferris stay behind due to the meteors not having enough energy for a return trip, and they would be left stranded in Galuf's world. The 3 remaining party members decide that they do have a stake in the fight as well, and seek passage to the other world. Using what's left of the adamantite that modified the airship, Bartz, Lena, Ferris, Sid, and Mid recharge the meteors at Tycoon, Gon, Waltz, and Karnak, enough to form a warp point at the Dragon Peninsula that will provide them with a one-way trip to Galuf's world. Bartz, Lena, and Ferris say their goodbyes, and leap into the warp point, setting off on a new adventure in an unknown landscape. And that's the story so far, but a 10-minute recap doesn't do it justice. If you haven't already, go back and watch everything we've done so far up to this point. No, really, do it. I like your views. They make me feel better when I'm depressed. There should be an annotation here somewhere.